Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Om. Dear friends, we were reading the 13th shloka of the second chapter. The second chapter is Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga, as I was saying, it is about Atma Jnana. And it is going to tell what is the Jiva Swarupa, that is, what is the nature of the Jiva, or the self as we call it. And this shloka number 13, we were just seeing, and we saw two words called Deha and Dehi. I explained to you the meaning of word Deha. Deha means the body. Deha Upachaye, that is that which is being collected every minute. Every minute we are consuming something and the body is kept up. And Dehi is that which is having that Deha. And who is this Deha? The Dehi refers to that Atma, what we call Jivatma, which is identifying itself with the body-mind complex. So right now, I will just tell you what the Vedanta says and how it is and what not. If we want to know, we have to go into Vedanta separately. But right now, Krishna is not going into all that logic. Krishna is merely saying what it is. So, I am just giving you what Krishna is saying. Of course, I am also giving you a little bit of logic so that you can also understand. So that is the reason why I was telling about Jagrada Avastha, Swapna Avastha, Sushupti Avastha, in order to explain that consciousness is something which is never born, which is never going to die. At least that much we have to know. So here, of course, Dehi means Atma, that is, which is having that body or embodied self as we call it. And just as for this body, there is what is called Kaumaram, that is adolescence. There is Yavanam, youth, and again Jara, that is old age. Tatha Dehantara Praptihi. Dehantara Prapti means again it is going to get into another body. And in fact, the Upanishads talk about a small, if we see the tree, observe the trees, there will be small worms. So that worm slowly it creeps and from one leaf to another leaf it goes. From another leaf to another leaf it goes. So that is Truna Jaluka, it is said. That Truna Jaluka, from one piece of grass to another piece, it moves and moves and moves. So like that, the Linga Sharira is supposed to move from body to body to body. Of course, the commentators here, they have made clear that the context is not to tell about Linga Sharira. The idea is not to tell about Linga Sharira. The idea is to tell about Atma. But incidentally, that Linga Sharira also is there. So that is why we are saying, Tatha Dehantara Praptihi. Dhiraha tatra namuhyati. Dehantara prapti means punarjanma, as we call it, that is rebirth. And why is this, what is this rebirth, etc.? Why is this rebirth or punarjanma accepted in the Indian society? That is, number one, philosophically speaking, even philosophically we are deriving that Atma is something which is not going to die. Atma means that is consciousness which is illumining this body-mind complex. It is something which is not going to die. Then again, there is a principle of justice. Principle of justice is, suppose I do something. I lead a very, very pious life. And I am just dying. And suppose I am born in a very, very bad condition. What is the reward which I have got for all the pious life which I have led here? Or suppose there is a sinner. There is a sinner and that sinner, he has committed all the sins and then he is born in a very, very nice condition in the next birth. Then how are you going to explain? And more primary to that is the fact that we see so much of diversity in nature. There is so much of diversity in creation, not nature, creation of human. If you take human society itself, somebody is born a very, very rich man. Somebody is born very, very poor. Somebody is born with the body, a very healthy body. Somebody is born with whether he is blind or deaf or dumb or lame, whatever it is, he is born with some sort of physical handicap. So how do you explain? Suppose you don't accept what we call karma or karma phala, then how do you explain? We can say, okay, no, God is all powerful, God can create as he likes. So then what does it mean? Then it means that God is very, very kind to some people. He has put them in a rich house. And God is he is harsh to some other man that he has made him. He has made him or rather born blind or born deaf, something like that. So why should God do? Why God is supposed to be impartial? God is not supposed, whoever it is God, what we call God, or that universal principle, or that cosmic mind, use whatever word you want, that is supposed to be totally above any type of love, hate, etc. It has to be totally equal to all. In fact, in Brahma Sutras, we know that there is a text called Brahma Sutra. In that Brahma Sutra, there is a whole chapter on this. Supreme reality or not supreme reality. Under that supreme reality, we accept what is called tentatively, we accept what is called a functional God. And that God should be somebody who is above all these things. Vaishamya Nairgrunya Adhikaranam, it is called. That chapter is called Vaishamya Nairgrunya. He is not having enmity with anybody. He is not having love for anybody. He is not having any sort of a lack of compassion. He is full of compassion. So he is equal to all. So that Adhikaranam says God is somebody who is equal to all. If God is equal to all, then all the people on earth should be born equally. Equally means everybody should be equally poor or equally rich, or totally, absolutely, there should not be any difference, absolutely physically fit, etc., etc. But it is not so. So there is so much of change, there is so much of diversity in creation. So how do you explain the diversity in creation? And also, how do you explain or how do you promote this sense of justice, that is, sense of good in the society? So that provokes a man, or rather that prompts a man or motivates a person to do some good things. So that is actually for social harmony. So there is number one, it is to explain that God is somebody who is above all this love, hate, etc. God does not love some people, God doesn't hate some other people. And number two, it is also to promote the sense of good behavior or good conduct in the society. That principle of justice has to be there. So for these reasons, it is accepted. Otherwise, what happens? I have done all my all punyam and I am not getting result for that. Shastra, there is a term called Kruta Hani. Kruta Hani means Krutasya Hanihi. I have done some punyam and all that punyam has gone down the pipeline. Then Akruta Abhyagama. Akruta Abhyagama means I have not done any sin, but then I have got so much of burden, so many problems. Akruta Abhyagama. That is what I have not done. It has come to me. What I have done, it has gone down the drain. So this is a defect. Krutahana, Akrutabhyagama is supposed to be a defect. So in order to avoid all these things, the Eastern societies have all accepted what is called Punarjanma. So that is what it is. Tatha dehantara praptihi dhiraha tatra namuhyati. Dhira means, what is the meaning of dhira? Dhira means a very bold warrior or something like that. That is the normal meaning we say, dhira purusha. So dhira in Shastra, this word dhira is used in the Upanishads also. Kashchid dhiraha pratyagatmanam aikshat, says one Upanishad called Kathopanishad, it says, the human body and the human mind and indriyas, they are always outward bound. That is, my mind is so situated or so created, the indriyas are so created that they are always going after external objects. So if you want to know who you are, you should not look externally. You have to look internally. You have to look inward. So that looking inward cannot be done by all, unless by very serious effort, by serious concentration. What am I? What are my indriyas? Where from my indriyas have come? What is my mind? And I have to try to control my mind. I have to try to regulate my mind. I have to regulate various emotions in the mind like love, hate, greed, etc., etc., lust, etc., etc. So with all this, when I look inward, so that is something which is a dhira. So Kaschit dhiraha, that Upanishad says, Kaschit dhiraha pratyagatmanam aikshat. Pratyagatma means the inner self. Pratyak means inside. Pratyagatma means that inner self. What is that reality? What am I? So only a dhira person, only a person who is capable of restraining his mind, he is called a dhira. And not like we see in films, in all our films nowadays, we see our heroes. A hero he can fight, say 100 people at a time. So he is also like a Maharathi. He can fight 100 people at a time. But here in Shastra, in Vedanta, dhira means a person who controls his mind. Dhiyam rati iti dhiraha. Dhiyam buddhivrittim rati grinhati iti dhiraha. That is the etymological meaning of the word dhira. That is a person who controls his dhi. Dhi, we know the meaning of dhi. Dhi means buddhi. Dhiman, we say. Dhiman means buddhiman. So dhi, one who controls his dhi is a dhira. Dhiyam rati iti dhiraha. So that is the meaning of dhira. So dhiraha tatra namuhyati. A dhira, a wise man, does not get deluded. Muhyati. Na muhyati means moha. Moha means delusion. Na muhyati means he doesn't get deluded. So this we see in this shloka, we see that That Deha is there is something which is called Deha. There is what is called Dehi. And of course, this Vedanta, what we see in Vedanta, it is something which is different from what Buddhists and other people they say. For example, Buddhists they say, first of all, more than prior to Buddhists, if we take one group of people called Charvaka, we know that there are what are called materialists. Materialist means absolutely there is nothing, there is no such thing called God, there is no such thing called heaven or anything, there is no such thing as good and evil. This life is totally accidental in nature. Okay, just as some chemical reaction takes place when two things meet and some sort of chemical reaction takes place. Similarly, when things have come together and a body is formed, various atoms have come together and a body is formed, and when a body is formed, some intelligence has born in that, they say. Intelligence is something which is born in the body. So that is what they say. And it also dies. And Deha itself is the Atma. Deha itself is the Atma. There is no separate Atma. There is nothing called permanence. There is something just it is coming and then coming into existence and dying. It is called Dehatmavada. Dehatmavada means this apart from Deha, there is no other Atma. So this is the argument of what are called, of people called Charvaka. Charvaka, the meaning of Charvaka is Charu Vakti iti Charvaka. A person who speaks very well. So that means a person who speaks in a very, very pleasing manner. So when you say there is nothing, there are no rules, nothing, you go and enjoy, do whatever you want. Drink, make merry, Vranam Kurtva, Ghrutam Pibet, etc., etc. Drink, be merry, etc., etc. So when you say that, everybody likes it and it is very popular among people. So that is why it is also called Lokayata. Lokayata means very, very popular. So it is a very popular philosophy. And most slightly above that, we find what are called the logicians. Logicians, they have another theory. They also say that, all this thing, the whole universe is only consisting of atoms. And when all these atoms are coming together, again a body is formed. And in this body, of course, they do accept what is called an Atma. There is what is called an Atma. They also accept that there is a person called God. And that God is what is called Paramatma. And all these individual Atmas are totally different. There are so many Atmas as there are so many individuals. Not only individual does not mean only human being. Right from an ant or a mosquito, right from anything. All these things, they do have Atmas. So all these Atmas are totally different. And this intelligence or consciousness is something which is born in the body. When that Atma comes in contact with the mind, the intelligence is something which is born in the body. So that is what logicians say. And Buddhists, they say that intelligence is something which is momentary. Kshanikavada, they say. Kshanikavada means that intelligence is something which is just momentary. It is just born and dies. I see something, an object in front of my eye. That object is there for a second. And the next minute, next second I see, the object which I see is totally different because it has already undergone some change. So they have got their own logic. Everything is ephemeral, everything is very, very impermanent. Kshanika Vijnana, that Vijnana is born and dies, Vijnana is born and dies. So it is a Vijnana Pravaham, which when I say that I know something, it is a Vijnana Pravaha or a stream of that consciousness. So that is what they say. So anyway, Vedanta says, Jnanam is something which is never born. Never born means it is always there. It has no particular point of origin. It is no death. So that is what the theory or rather the doctrine of the Upanishads and also of the Geeta. So and also there are not so many Atmas. There are not so many Atmas. That consciousness is something which is only one. Consciousness which is universal. Consciousness which is existing all over. There is only one consciousness, like the sun's light. The sunlight is only one. The sunlight is illumining all the objects under the sun. You say in the universe, let us say. So all the objects are being illumined by the same sunlight. So similarly, the Atma or consciousness is one and the same, and it is reflecting in the consciousness, in the mind or Antahkarana as we call it, in the minds of all the beings, and it is activating all the Antahkaranas. So that is what Vedanta says. So which is accepted by most people. So anyway, now we come to the next shloka. Dhirastatra namuhyati means a dhira is somebody who understands this nature, who understands the Jiva Swarupa, and he realizes that Jiva is somebody who is not going to die. And now again one more next in the same vein Krishna is going to say, 14th shloka, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkadaha agama payino nityaha tan stitikshasva bharata. So he is now talking about the indriyas. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shita ushna sukha dukkadaha. Suppose I am sitting here in the AC room and I am happy that my body is very comfortable and I am happy. Suppose I go out, I go into the hot sun. The hot sun again I feel, oh, this is very, very bad. And suppose I am having very, very cold water for bath. So I feel, oh, it is a very, very cold water. I feel rather uncomfortable. So this is something which is common to all the people, which is common. The sense organs, they do have various types of experiences. Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukkha. Not only physical, but Sukha and Dukkha, of course, they relate to the mind. Shita and Ushna, they relate to the body. Sukha and Dukkha relate to the mind. So there are various types of turbulences, both for the body, physical discomfiture, and also mental discomfiture. Suppose I go out, when I am interacting with somebody, there is some unpleasant interaction. With that unpleasant interaction, I feel bad, I feel hurt, let us say, and it causes some sorrow. So various things are there. So these things are being explained here. Matra sparshastu kaunteya. Hey kaunteya, matra sparshaha. Matra means the indriya, sense organs. That is the etymological meaning of matra is related to the English root measure, meter, matra. Matra is related to meter. They are called cognate words. Matra in Sanskrit related to meter, measuring. So that sort of meaning. So it measures or it knows the shabdadaya, all the sense objects. Sparshaha means all the sense objects. So these indriyas which are going to see the sense objects are perceiving the sense objects and which are giving the Sita, Ushna, Sukha and Dukkha. These are the things which just come and go. Agama, apayanaha. Agama means it comes, apaya means it goes away. Agama apayanaha, anityaha. Anitya means something which is ephemeral, which is very, very transient, which are there for a short time. Tan stitikshasva bharata. O Bharata, tan titikshasva. Titiksha is another important concept which we see in Vedanta. Titiksha means endurance. Endurance means philosophically understand that these are all things which are very, very ephemeral and then these come and go. So you just tolerate it. Tolerance as we call it. Tolerance is one word. Endurance is another word. Titiksha is just endurance. Just bear with it. So which is something which we have to understand. So this titiksha is a thing which is needed for a spiritual practitioner. One example is, suppose your wife has prepared a curry and salt is slightly more. And you immediately get angry that there is more salt in that. Or salt is less. You are again angry. So like that. So for every small thing, suppose you are getting angry. For every small thing you feel, oh, this temperature today is so warm and you start cursing it. Or today is so cold and we start cursing it. So all these things which are very, very ephemeral or very, very impermanent in nature, these are the things which have to be tolerated. You are not supposed to complain about all these things. In day-to-day life, there are so many things which happen. A spiritual seeker is not supposed to complain. Of course, this raises some important questions in modern world, because we know that if you are very, very contented, political parties cannot survive. Political parties, they have to actually orchestrate grievances. In fact, there are some political parties which go to, for example, there is a trade union, let us say. The trade union people are contented, happy, let us say. Somebody goes and then he starts a small union there and then he says, no, oh, you are getting 100 rupees. You are supposed to get 150. Let us make a demand for 150. And now if the man gets slightly more or 150, he will demand, okay, we'll get 200. So you keep on orchestrating the demands and you keep on creating a feeling of want or feeling of lack in the mind of the man. So you are creating a sort of discontentment in the mind of an ordinary man. So we'll see how titiksha is something which is something which is not compatible with the political atmosphere. We'll see tomorrow. Harihi Om Tat Sat.